Well, hello everyone. Here to show you right here is like you for welcome back for the Gold Monument 13, and you see right here is I went ahead and add in some details right here. You have right here. This was right here was a picture of me right here when I was young, with the birthday cake. But then this right here we talk about for like job interviews, and I know for like any type of interview that basically means this toward it. Yeah, that people that you may not met before, or just knowing about how the interview's going to go. They look at your stuff and then they kind of show us like if the chances of getting a job. It's like going to go. It's like anything about the score from like 1 to 4 or something like that about for chances are of getting hired onto a job. And I think about it, it's like by the time that you're 13 and thinking about it is toward it really about for any of your work that more that anybody that may they get what you call interested about especially. But if you have right here is example right here of like say like for Gold Monument 13 of talk about it's like for emails and as well as for anything else like electronically, especially talk about the United States Treasury. But you have right here is this right here would be example right here of like for email, and as well as for toys like for celebrating say for state's company is, and then have right here for 4th of July. And you have right here, like I'm sure most of us have seen already, if anybody has seen 12 yet, but this right here will be some examples right here of like from 12 right here. And talk about for the brain power that we use every day it is. And I know that I did in some quite a bit of detail right here, and I know for the next page especially. But quite a bit of information to the point where I'm like, if I'm going to maybe save that maybe for 14, but really that about every 3 or 4 days, maybe out of a week, if I keep thinking about it, to where you just to keep up, keep up, adding these adding ideas to the stuff that you're working on, especially if it's going to be job interview. And I know, like with anybody, if you're going to be going through a job interview and people may warn to her, hey, how did it go? But on the other hand, that whenever I do record a video, I'm also thinking about it to where that like talk about for Go Monument. And I don't know if anybody knows basically about what I'm talking about. Is that it can be very confusing as well. But on your hand too, basically what I'm talking about right here is basically like for a birthday. And we may think that a birthday would be like for any other day, really, and it may seem like any other day, but let's just say that, if we would have went to a job interview right around our birthday. So let's just say by next year that I can maybe put like, we say, somewhere on page. I can go ahead and go to the next page here, but you have right here, I want to show everybody here right here, this right here will be like a world map right here, and talk about say for the world. It's like talk about for the world map right here. You have right here is talk about for the world map. This right here will say for me to the world map, and basically that whenever we graduate, that you're like Warren Tour that I did not include all the pieces. But let's just say if this was what you call that example right here, like an activity game right here. This was like an activity to where if anybody were wanting to where if they were to be looking at the world map, and then that they actually see that that there's like what you call is like different pieces and a different if it includes like maybe a few stickers or some kind of maybe like some type of game or some sort. But if anybody were to be looking at this, and I know that there's probably much more detail to this, compared to what I have shown right here, is that this right here will be some of my illustration work right here using the pen tool right here, and as well as a few colors. So this right here will be the like North American you have right here for like South America along with Canada, and it's like if they're like I guess green. Iceland or Great Greenland, I think Greenland is right here, and as well as parts of Europe right here, and as well as for Russia and China, as well as Japan and Australia. So you have these different continents and about right here. And I can remember whenever I was in high school that I know I even from the 6th grade that whenever I was about 12, 13, that I can remember doing a lot of studies about the world map especially. So whenever we graduate, that you're like weren't to where that yeah, whenever you're a kid though, especially for like a little brother, showing great progress, is that this right here, that this this could maybe be a number of meetings right here, a number of meetings, and we have heard that before, to where on our birthday that we were brought into the world for that particular reason. It's like knowing about whenever you're how your mom and dad met, and as well as like that for anything that special that goes on, especially on your birthday. And if anybody were warned to where they, that there may be a number of questions that more likely remain, but one of those questions will be as to where that I think I talked about since Gold Monument at 4 and 5 is talking about is to where that the world map. And the world map is that thinking that your birthday, your birthday that more likely is toward you set for the future. That really, does anybody really know about what's going to be going on by their birthday? Let's just say if I can maybe pick a year, and I can maybe go ahead and write this also, but yeah, I'll go ahead and type this right here for at the year would have been about yeah, by the year 2023. I can go ahead and use 2023 right here as example. So if anybody weren't to where the by the year 2023 especially, you're like weren't to where that really does anybody here really know exactly about what's going to be going on right around that time, by the year 2023, and think about by the time by the year 2023 that you'll probably be about, I may be about maybe 38 years old and thinking about, any type of job opportunities especially. But you have right here is the world map right here, and like talk about for language art skills especially. So if we're like looking at this right here, I can show you. I did some changes right here too, but talk about for mobile amps as well with the email, and as well as for follow attachments right here is like for ways of how people say hello, if it's going to be by the telephone or if it's going to be by the email or anything like that. But let's just say if it was a meeting, and and I know that if anybody wore a warrant or that anybody asks us like, have you ever been in a meeting before? Like that all depends on what kind of meeting it is. Like yeah, meeting. So meetings basically means like if it's going to be Skype call or if it's going to be what you call maybe by text lettering. I'm like if anybody, if there's anything about maybe like text lettering to where that you're going to, people who are going to want to interview you based on maybe a job description, maybe anything on your resume. So I know, like with anybody, and I know that if anybody will want to wear that, if you want to maybe save that for for 14, but I'm like, really that I am kind of waiting and knowing about. I'm like, really, people to watch the Gold Monument, 9 and 10 as well as for 11. But maybe the next one that I'm likely be working on is talk about for job resume. But and I know that's one I have not gotten to, but back whenever I was about a year old, of course, I did not know a lot what a lot of this stuff was, even this calculations and stuff. So if anybody were warned to where that there's enough to keep me busy, maybe for the next 5 years, whenever it's talking about by the time you get a job that pays good and knowing about anything else, about knowing about how the internet sites work, and as well as the mobile devices and stuff. But you see right here is I would include right here is it's like a little writing in a star right here. So this right here, like for almost anything that we do, that we're gonna have like a little signature right here. I'll talk about it for my name right here, and like congratulations Matthew, and so we're like warned to where that there may be a number of ways of how we can sign stuff. If it's going to be electronically, or that if anybody warns us to where that how do you write your name just by using like say 1 2 3 4 5. I'm like if you were to pick like a certain number, what you call odds from 1 to 10, and you're like warned to where that if there's it's supposed to be like a code, and I know that. This is something that I'm sure maybe not everybody really wants to mess with, really, and I really don't blame. I don't really blame anyone either, as to where that type of code, to where while you're working something and it's basically like a code, you would enter a code into a device. It would represent maybe like an ID, like a signature. If you're going to be getting a job, then you would enter like maybe like an ID or a code of some sort. This code can maybe contain maybe a few keywords, for security purposes, maybe a star and maybe a plus or minus, and as well as underscore, and as well as a few other keywords especially. And some people that may think about it to where that hey, that I don't quite understand a lot of this stuff here, and then they like the company that may need to explain, like, I don't know the direction, but still that sometimes that whenever we do get jobs that we're like think about is to where that a few things that you don't understand, and sometimes you may get that feeling as to where that you don't deserve the job then, just because you don't understand something. But so I know, like with anybody, especially if they're going to be getting just an associate's or maybe for a bachelor's or a master's degree, that a lot of the stuff right here that it just works so totally different from what you learned maybe in kindergarten. And think about, from your birthday, maybe since whenever you were 4, that you may remember the birthday candles, as well as maybe the that what you call that glowing lamp, or if it's going to be like Statue of Liberty, or if it's going to be for North Tarikia, that you're like wearing toward that by the time that you're at least maybe in your 30s and maybe early 40s, and thinking any job that you may get at a later on point too, is to where you have right here is a star right here with that writing is like from Matthew Sean McGuire, like age 32, is like knows a lot about the decision, and as well as for job, as well as for the gold bonding. But so this right here would be like a message right here. I went and wrote like using like the pad tool. So it's basically that this was like something that I was using that for like, I know like with anybody, if they're taking any type of design lessons, and if anybody were to say that this could have been maybe a small project compared to other projects that you may have worked on. So you're going to have maybe a few clients, and I know that for like any job sites, is to where they're probably waiting for like this number to climb to about, if you're going to have about at least 1,000 clients. If I go ahead and use right here for clients, you're going to have at least 1,000 clients who are going to be wanting you to look at your work, and then want to say, hey, look, that looks pretty neat. What's your name? And so that's just a thing that if you're going to maybe have like maybe 1,000 clients, or maybe only about maybe 50 or so clients, and maybe in different countries, and yeah, there could have been maybe a project that you were working on, and you were not able to explain the whole story, but then part of that story is that was basically a birthday present, or that was what you call basically time training. And so a lot of times that for anybody that they somebody that may ask is to where that if you were to get a job, and then you're like thinking about is to where that to kind of make the long story short, is thinking about is to where that it all started as to where that it was basically, it came from talent, and then from talent, and then showing other people a little bit about your work, and then from there, and then you decide to take a pause from it for about 4 years, and then until other ideas came develop, and until other people got interested, until you decide to go to school for it. So it's like anybody that may want to where, yeah, long story short, but then they may be thinking about it to where the things that they may not seen before, or they have seen them before, and then maybe something that any other ideas, and you have creative ideas. So this right here, of course, for like anybody that may want to, or what about job resume, as well as for meetings. And I know for 13 here, I wanted to mainly talk about the meetings, though. That if you're going to be in a meeting with like a conference meeting, that people may be talking to you about maybe about how much they pay you a year for your work, but then on the other hand, that they may want to collect any other source of information, maybe about how it works, especially if it's about going to be on Skype. So whenever we think about this right here, and think about the world map, especially have right here is like for the buildings right here is like for the talk about for job radar. But if we were talking, think about this right here for even with email, but for like say the world map. Whenever we're going to be on Skype call with somebody, or be on the phone with somebody, and they may be maybe anywhere, maybe in the U.S., maybe in the United States, but let's just say if they're up there in Canada. So if you're talking to somebody, and they could maybe be in farther, further, I guess if up north, further northeast or so of Canada, and you could be what you call on like the east coast, say, of part of the United States, and that gets to where people who are talking to you and want to say is like, yeah, by the time my birthday, maybe by the year 2018, that you could have maybe what you call people. People would want to connect with you on a conference call and want to talk to you about maybe job interviews or something like that. So they want to look at the resume, and then after you receive your certificate, so it's like anybody that may say is like, yeah, well, congratulations and happy birthday, but it's still that a lot of the stuff, which I know since I was a kid, that I'm sure most of us have worked those puzzles whenever we were kids. If we remember, most of us whenever we were kids, if you want to, have like a little Lincoln log set or maybe work a puzzle whenever you were a kid, or activity book that you're like weren't, or that yeah, that comes with about maybe 10 or maybe 13, 14 different pieces, and you're like weren't, or okay, this, I'm sure that this goes here and then that goes there. So whenever I look at this world map right here, I'm also thinking about other ideas too. Is that with like if this was like maybe like a PC game, like anything on a PC or on a Mac, and so if anybody weren't aware that, yeah, that and I know that while I was working this also, I was also thinking about as to where that yeah, do I have all the pieces? Which I know that some of them are not even aligned right, and I know that some people that may say that what about the Arctic Sea, and as well as the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean, and as well as coast of Japan, and Israel and China, and as parts of other continents too. So I know that with this work right here, that may not be absolutely perfect, but just to kind of get an idea here. But on the other hand, that with like job interview though, that looking at the resume, and I know like with anybody that they will be looking at the work that we're doing, especially, and thinking about as to where, yeah, we looked over your birth, we looked over the information, besides like the birth certificate on your resume, on the job resume, and you're like weren't to where necessarily to where the job resume that may have said something like something such as that about at least 3 years experience with maybe using computer programs, as well as maybe communication with clients, and then that this was before you got your certificate, that you were on Facebook, and people knew you work a little bit maybe on LinkedIn, and as well as if it's going to be what you call for your birthday, and I know like and I can tell anybody here, I would have started school right around Christmas time, so including the orientation as well as meetings. So if anybody weren't aware that, yeah, on your birthday especially. So your birthday is supposed to be like, say, a special day necessarily, but then knowing about for job interviews. But I don't know if anybody ever wonders as to where that, yeah, that for by your birthday, what do you call it whenever you get married on your birthday, huh? And anybody that may wonder to where engagement, like, yeah, I'm like, well, if you meet anybody in particular and they say that they were born in June and you were born in July, and then they got serious about that, you talk about anything which called dating as well as for engagement. So if anybody were warned, we're like, really, that really, what could be what you call postal paid, relate to that, like, and well, congratulations, like, for the wedding present. But anyway, but talk about right here for like media for the world map right here, and I know like with anybody that they may warrant toward it, yeah, included like maybe a few other pieces as well, and I'll see about how 13 turns out, but anything else that more likely I can maybe think about is to her that anything that I may want to add, especially, and I know like with anybody, they're likely to say is a number of things that they probably want to add to a lot of this work too. I'm like a few things that from where I left off, and then for anything else that I keeps me updated as well. But talk about that for our work though, is that if we gradually see our work growing, I guess that was what we call practically normal, compared to like anything about what you call brain power it is, and like think about it, to where whenever you started that you only start with only so many pieces. maybe with these so many pieces to where we may think that some of those pieces that don't even count, some of those pieces that we may thought were just what you call just messing around or anything like that. So whenever we think about this, and some that may say is that that there is really no gold in what you call anything that you do find, but really that gold can maybe be a color, or the gold can maybe show anything about what you call for great progress as well. So whenever we use our brain power, especially for like everyday what you call thinking, especially, and think about it for any devices so far as technology goes, as well as for job resumes. And a lot of stuff seems like to where some people that say is to where that they want to see a difference after about 8 weeks or so. But then it may take about maybe 5 years at the most. So you're like wanting to compared to what other people want and compared to maybe what you want especially. But on your hand, talk about right here is like for like if this was right here for email right here with me right here for state company, as well as for anything that's really like the gold monument right here for gold monument 13. But you see right here the stars right here, but on there here to talk about for United States Treasury as well. You get free information about for my picture on for $4, for United States, for talk about for United States Treasury. But that I know that if this was right here was me right here, and anybody say that that's not you, of course, on a job interview during a job interview, or if it's at the meeting or some sort. But if anybody were warned to where, you got a meeting at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock for a job interview, and like warned to where, well, it's my birthday. I'm enjoying my dessert, or I'm enjoying my cake, or so if anybody were wondering, it's like you've gone to a job interview, haven't you? Like, yeah, I'm like, and that was a long time ago, or something may say that not online, or it wasn't what you call too much over the phone, or anybody like warrant tour. I tell you what, let's have this job interview at your house. Let's have the meeting at your house, and we'll talk up to you. I can wait a minute, my house. I can well. I don't think I have everything we need, at my house for this, to do the, complete this meeting. But it's like, well, what do you call the tablets and the mobile devices and all that other stuff? So it's like, you're like, weren't to after about 25 years, we weren't to where the meetings are going to be located, especially if they're going to be sponsored from, from all over the country, maybe all over the world, that people are going to want to interview about for what you do. And this right here would be like the American flag right here. So you're like warrant tour that it started out as a hobby, but then people may think as to where that a lot of that stuff that basically is to where that anything that you're doing especially. And I call it the gold monument, but some people that may say they may have their different names for what they particularly call that to where that if it's what you call gold, or if it's what you call is to where that ain't called gold, it's called experience. But I'm like, well, really, that the type of experience to where it just kind of keeps on going, but if there's a time to where it needs to rest also. But some that may say that, really, that there's time where it needs to rest also. But really, we are also talking about the future here. We're talking about the future. So this right here, of course, this was the past. This is the past right here. So I keep thinking about, especially on my birthday. We can also remember as to where the day that we were born, no matter if it's going to be by the year 2023 or by 2025 or maybe by 2018, to think about the future, about people who want to interview us about a job interview, and knowing about if it's going to be what you call the gold monument. Something if it's going to be anything about maybe what you call for a trophy or anything to be proud of, like maybe a medal or some sort. But on the other hand, and I know like with anybody that there may be some things about a job that maybe we don't like at all, and you may think that maybe not everything that maybe your mind would agree about also about for higher education, but really that if a job were to be all what we wanted, and maybe that we would not be aware of what all that was out there, and especially as to where that anything that's basically required, but still that. If anybody were warned, or between going talking about the elections, or if it's politics or some sort, and you're like warned, or that talking talk about for a source of education, especially if we're talking about maybe Social Security as well as any source of information and warrant toward it. Really, I really don't know if they really know or if they really care to know that information, but knowing about them, like, well, really, I'm sure they'll ask if they need to know that information, but until the time, it's like, well, happy birthday, okay, well, congratulations, okay, well, happy anniversary, but other than that, move on. But anyway, if I talk about, see, the toys and stuff like that, but anyway, but this right here, like, talk about for the world map, and then I know, like with anybody, that they may have had their experience as well, like a number of things as well that we see right here, but and I know that 13 and knowing about all these calculations right here for knowing about for money management as well as for accounting as well as knowing about per a year or so. Talk, I'll say, for it's going to be financial aid as well as taking care of the bills wise, and then they have right here's for signatures. So I know that this is a lot of information, but really did just take a for one thing at a time, and on the other hand too, just think about it to where every year, especially on our birthday, every year on our birthday, or if it's going to be an anniversary, just think about something to be proud of, especially, but for great progress. But other than that, thanks for watching, everyone, and I know this is a lot of information here, but on the other hand too, knowing about what information it's important as well, about for our birthdays, and then talk about the world map especially, and then on the other hand, they talk about for higher education as well, and then for for business, and it's like talk about for Gold Money at 13. And thanks for watching. Have a great day. And talk about right here is like for anything about pin codes right here, and basically that yeah, like if we like weren't, where if it's like anything and maybe like a code or some sort, but on the other hand, I think that they call it more like a pin, like a pin code, something for like a PIN, for like a pin, if it's going to be anything like for PIN, and if anybody wants to where yeah, not really like what you call like any other type of pin, not like a anything any other kind of pen, but on the like the kind of pen to where it's like some type of identification. And I know that a lot of those online applications would use something like this right here to like a pen. And if anybody wonders to where yeah, that something kind of like this right here, I'm like that they would include like a pen, like a logo, logo kind of like this right here, and with this logo, I'll go ahead and just copy this right here. We'll copy this right here, and then make this a little bit smaller. So it would look like something kind of like that right there. So whenever we think about this, if it's going to be through financial aid, if it's going to be like a financial aid application or some sort, and anybody that may warrant where yeah, for PIN, for like a PIN code, and PIN, you include like a star right there on the front, and I can maybe make another copy right here, and then make that just a little bit smaller also. But have right there with the writing especially, so like knowing about like yeah, number of writings especially. But anyway, for like congratulations for Matthew McGuire, and it's like for 1,000 clients, and talk about say for like pin codes, and this basically, if you want to look at it, as to where if it's going to be like maybe a job interview, or if it's a resume or some sort, and you're like Warren to where that yeah, that a lot of that information especially, and it seems like some of it is quite a bit confusing especially. But on the other hand, that I make this little, and I know everybody say about what I guess there's like a kind of logo to where it means is to where it's too much. There's too much distractions going on. It's hard to understand. But on the other hand, I can include a copyright here, and if anybody wanted to, where yeah, pin codes basically they're supposed to mean something necessarily, but on the other hand, that we talk about for like a pen, like a security pen, and with the security pen, that it may not say something like with that person's name right here for Matthew McGuire. It would maybe say it would maybe contain like between letters and numbers, something such as 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. You contain like right there for 1 2 3 4, right there, and then say something like that. So 1234, so that's like what you call like a security code. And I know that they say that it's supposed to be case sensitive and it's supposed to be kept, securely, especially. So that anything up between 1 through 10 or so, and if it's going to be continue about maybe 4-digit pin that to be used for anything, it's going to be what you call for online application or maybe for job resume or anything like that. So that's just a thing, though, is to where they talk about for the gold bonding is to where that how to keep our information safe and secure as well. But on the other hand, that talk about here, talk about for codes as well as for the person's name and as well as for other security purchases as well. But talk about right there the stars and like one to where the yeah. But other than that, thanks for watching, Anime 25, and have a great